It's believed by many that Meg Griffin is the culmination of all bullying that takes place in the Griffin households. But what if I told you you were wrong? Let me explain. You see, over the last 20 years, the writers of Family Guy have carefully put together the narrative that Meg Griffin is the one who gets bullied. But in actual fact, she is the bully. Although Meg is the butt of the joke more often than anyone else, no one else has taken it as far as her. Let's start with Season 4, Episode 4. After Meg won a makeover at her local mall and started a band with her family, she got her 15 minutes of fame and instantly developed an attitude, belittling her family, saying she was the only reason the band was big. But after she got used by Jimmy Fallon for a comedy sketch, Peter still stepped up to the job and beat him up live on air. This ordeal was the first time Meg was seen trying to take advantage of people and even bully some of them. With her desperation to receive even the slightest bit of attention taking over, her true self came out, and even after all of that, Peter still protected her. But as entitled as Meg acted here, it was nowhere near as illegal as what she did later in the show. In the episode Barely Legal, Meg revealed how truly sadistic and manipulating she is and can be. When Meg couldn't get a date to the prom, she ran to Brian for help, begging him to take her. When he declined, she manipulated him by threatening to off herself if he didn't. When they got there, Brian got drunk and defended Meg against Connie D'Amico in a brutal teardown. This somehow resonated in Meg's delusional mind that Brian wanted to be with her, despite him explicitly telling her he had no feelings for her and that he's currently in a relationship with Jillian. Here's where Brian is in the wrong. He did end up making out with Meg, which further confirmed to her that they were in a relationship, and she became obsessed over him. When Meg took it too far by making him a pie with her pubic hair in it, he told Lois everything, and she laughed at him. So when Brian finally made it clear they're not in a relationship, Meg decided she would kidnap and try to seduce him. This should have been Meg's first criminal offense, but she didn't get charged and was let off easily, which seems to be a common theme with the things Meg does, making her have a lack of empathy and ethics. It could be said that this was caused by the fact she gets little to no affection from her family, or even that she is just a dumb teenager who had her first experience with true love.
What's that, Brian? Oh, you were just kidding. Oh, I know you were. I love you too, Brian.
But what she did in Season 7 can't be excused. We all know Meg hasn't got anything she sticks with or believes in. No after-school clubs, no job, nothing. So when she became sick with the mumps and was bedridden, she was excited to be a born-again Christian after watching Kirk Cameron non-stop on TV. Because of this, she decided to irritate everyone by pushing her beliefs onto them. And when she found out Brian was an atheist, she was horrified and tried to get him to repent and convert to Christianity, which he refused. So Meg took drastic measures, further sealing how much of a bully she is. She spread the word around Quahog that Brian is an atheist, which is frowned upon there, turning him into a pariah. When the news caught wind of Brian's atheism, they went as far as to say he was worse than Hitler, getting him banned from all stores and bars in Quahog. Because Meg didn't end the parade, he got mobbed every time he stepped outside. This event showed what Meg is truly capable of if you don't do what she wants. But as bad as this was, it was nowhere near as illegal as what she did later in the show. Meg has had a very lackluster love life, so if anyone showed her even the slightest bit of attention, she was instantly in love. But when she started dating a convict in Season 8's Dial Meg for Murder, things turned for the worst.
I'm home. You're all my bitches now.
When Brian was writing an article on Meg, he caught her visiting Luke in jail and revealed her secret to Lois and Peter, who made her stop visiting him. When Luke escaped from jail, Meg allowed him to hide out in her room, selfishly putting the whole family at risk. When Luke was finally caught, Meg was also arrested for harboring a fugitive. And when she got out, she became the biggest bully in the Griffin family. With the mind of a hardened criminal, the first thing she did when she got home was beat the toughest guy in the house up, which was naturally Peter. Then continued to bully the family in ways such as beating Peter senseless, using Lois's shorts as toilet paper, and even making Peter punch Stewie. But by far the worst thing she did this episode was holding Brian at gunpoint and making him drive her to Mort's pharmacy to rob Mort. Luckily, it's here where Brian got through to her and ended her psychotic reign. This was the first time we've seen Meg being disciplined for something she did.
You're under arrest for harboring an escaped convict.
Oh, well, that's only fair because after all, I did hide him from the... What?
but it did not seem to work for the better. Although this was the most aggressive she's ever been, it's not the most disturbing thing she's done to someone. In Season 9's The Hand That Rocks the Wheelchair, she didn't necessarily bully anyone in particular, but she showed how manipulative and delusional she can be when she wants something. With Bonnie going out of town, someone needed to look after Joe and Susie. Lois made Meg do it. When Joe took Meg to school, Meg felt a bond with Joe and started developing feelings for him.
Hey, who's that? Your boyfriend?
Yeah, that's my boyfriend.
The next day, Meg tries to impress Joe by making them breakfast while planting in Bonnie's bag to get her arrested, so she can spend more time with Joe. Unaware of the fact Bonnie got arrested, Joe takes Meg to a restaurant, where, to Joe's horror, Meg suggests the two of them have a baby and starts breastfeeding Susie. When Joe went to Lois and Peter for help, they did nothing, until Meg jumped in front of Joe's police car to paralyze herself just so they would have something in common. This isn't even the most disturbing thing about Meg's love life. On multiple occasions, she is made out with Chris, which has strangely been normalized throughout the show. One thing that isn't normalized is Meg standing up for herself. In Season 10's Seahorse Seashell Party, Meg finally broke character and started calling Chris out, saying he's her brother, yet he never takes her side in arguments. Then she turned to Lois and said she's the furthest thing from the perfect mother, which upsets Lois to the point of crying. When she pointed out that Peter is a terrible father and mentions all of his destructive tendencies, Peter got upset and ran off to another room. While a lot of what Meg said was true, she hypocritically also never takes accountability for anything she does. Not once has she done something, such as kidnapping Brian, or tried to take Joe from Bonnie, and not gotten away with it, or gotten a really light punishment. So she isn't completely blameless in this, especially not after what she did to Chris. In Season 11, she tried to trick Chris into sleeping with a guy just to tell her how it was. Meg became obsessed with her classmate, but after learning he was gay and into Chris, Meg had tried convincing Chris to sleep with Kent and tell her about it. When Chris refused, Meg had the opportunity to let the whole thing go, but instead, she decided to go to Quagmire for roofies to use on Chris. Luckily, Meg snapped out of it once she realized Chris still had a photo of the two of them when they were younger, but the fact she even tried shows how utterly evil she can be. Once again, without thinking, she took advantage of Chris after she saw him stealing from Lois's purse. She decided to use the opportunity to blackmail Chris into doing whatever she wanted.
I won't tell Mom and Dad about the money if you promise to do whatever I say.
Some of those tasks were harmless enough, with Chris going to pick up Meg's mail and sitting and watching movies with her. Other jobs Meg tried to make him do, however, were disturbing, and it was really no wonder why Chris decided to run away from home for a while to live with Mr. Herbert. Who in their right mind would ask their brother to call girls pretending to be an aborted fetus?